-1.5.
Right,
The Kings, this is a mirage.
Could be.
And you and I watch every Grizzlies game. The Grizzlies are a mirage. The Mavs are a mirage. Like these are bad teams.
I don't think they're bad. I just think they're a middle class. We didn't have a middle class of the NBA last year, and we have a middle class this year. One of the preseason predictions.
Last thing I'll say about it.
Yeah.
You keep going.
Well, I was going to say one of the few preseason predictions that I still feel good about is I predicted there would be a bunch of teams to win like mid-30s this season. When that's the thing you don't see that much. Like other years, still maybe something could happen where all these teams decide to try to tank it out later. But I think that some of the tanking measures that the league changed are actually working. Yes, there are 5 teams that totally stink. The Cavs, the Knicks, the Bulls, the Hawks.
They're all in the East.
Well, and then the Suns. The Suns are suddenly mediocre-ish. They've been winning some games, but like. Last year there was, those 5 teams are on pace to, win 20 games, which I think Howard Beck was pointing out. That's more than last year when teams were tanking, but it's obviously, in my mind, because there's only 5 of them doing it. There are 25 teams that are legitimately trying and attempting to win games, and we have this healthy middle class. And I think in the West, you have a big upper-ish middle class teams who I still believe a lot of them could find themselves in that playoff race until the final weeks of March or early April.
I guess we'll agree to disagree. I feel like it's almost identical to the East where it's 8 teams in the Nets who I think could get in, messing around. And I think it's
right.
In the West, it's 8 teams in the Jazz. I mean, I hope I'm wrong about the Grizzlies, but I know I'm not wrong about the Kings. I've just watched too much of it, and De'Aaron Fox can only make so many miracle shots. And by the way, I love the Kings.
Oh, they're so fun.
I would love to have Dave Yeager back.
Their jerseys are so nice.
I would love everything about the Kings. They're really fun. They're going to be good. I think De'Aaron Fox is absolutely one of the stories of the season. Major key. Low key, Buddy Hield is one of the stories of the season. And then medium key, Willie Cauley-Stein is both overrated and underrated. Kings are tons and tons of fun. But let's stop talking about the Kings. Let's talk about Patrick Kirkner, who asks, right now, Harden is top 5 in steals and assists and is the top scorer in the NBA by almost 5 points per game. Good God. If this continues, does he win another MVP? Now, related, Matt Sullivan also asks, who is the most unwatchable MVP of all time, and why is it James Harden?
I need to check my NBA MVPs.
Okay. James Harden is not the most unwatchable MVP of all time.
Okay.
Because Karl Malone has won an MVP. Kobe Bryant has won an MVP.
I mean, here's some things.
Multiple MVPs. So those are 2 different kinds of unwatchable players. I do hate watching James Harden play, but the stats Patrick Kirkner just threw out, those are undeniable.
Yeah. So, for the first question, no, I don't think there's any chance James Harden wins an MVP. I think okay. I think we've hit this
critical mass on the hating.
Not just that, we just hit this thing where like you don't win 2 MVPs in a row. Every year, okay. NBA writers, NBA media, NBA everybody, whatever we're a part of, this NBA community of content creators, there's just like this new narrative that gets written every year, and we're not going to do a repeat narrative unless something spectacular happens.
If Greek Freak gets hurt, is he in the conversation?
I think he's in the conversation, but I don't know what would have to happen, because right now the Rockets, they got off to such a bad start. They'd have to finish so high. I feel like Russell Westbrook has a better chance of winning this year, even though the narrative is all Paul George for the Thunder. I don't think there's any way Harden...
I know I'm doing a lot of conjecture here, but if James Harden leads the Rockets back into a decent seed with Chris Paul on the bench, he's absolutely going to he might win MVP.
I would put the odds at impossible to win a second MVP. Because I just think that's how we do it. We just come up with a new guy each time. And I don't think you're going to get a repeater unless it's someone who is like acknowledged as being the top player of the NBA. Someone you could argue be like, that's the best player of the NBA. I don't think people really argue that James Harden is the best player. I guess some people do, but
allow me a few prefatory remarks before I make a grandiose statement.
Okay.
I am having the worst gambling on NBA year of my life.
Right. Your pickle performance reflects that.
The most public money, the most public bets have gone through and cashed this year since 1993, which was a weird year in basketball, if you recall. Charles Barkley certainly recalls. But if I were to buy MVP stock, and I think this is the end of the buy low period, I think this is the Paul George buy MVP stock time.
It'd be wild.
I think that narrative could take off. You need Giannis Antetokounmpo to get hurt, first of all, because I feel like he has it locked up.
You know who my MVP vote is?
Why?
Steph Curry.
I love Steph Curry.
Steph Curry's the best. I can't believe I didn't put him. Everything is the best that he does. He's having an unbelievable year. His shooting numbers are unbelievable. They're better than his MVP season. The Warriors are the best
not
team.
Even on the Basketball Reference NBA MVP award tracker, not even the top 10.
That's wild. So, I mean,
right now, Giannis is at 38.1%.
And then you got, I know all the NBA hipster people were talking about Jokic, because Jokic, when the Nuggets were first place in the West, they're not right now, as we're talking on Thursday afternoon, but he's leading the Nuggets in points, assists, blocks, I think, and steals and rebounds.
He's God.
So if a guy leads all categories on his team and they're first in their conference, that's probably the MVP. But I also don't think there's any chance he wins MVP. Least favorite, worst, hardest to watch NBA MVP ever, that's Kobe Bryant. Next question.
Bang. Shout out Damon Rangula. Let's go back to the Liam Well. I like this one. If Jim Boylan was put in some sort of Thunderdome competition, which coaches would be least afraid of him and most ready to beat his pasty ass? I feel like there are more than a few. Jerry Stackhouse. I mean, I do think Jim Boylan is a very serious customer, and I wouldn't want any part of him, but there's a lot of NBA coaches
right now
who would just house him. Patrick Ewing.
My eyes are closed.
He's not an NBA coach, but you know what I'm talking about. There's guys on the bench, on benches just giant NBA badasses.
I am straining myself in thought right now, trying to decide if Jim Boylan is a legitimate tough guy, or if he is, because everyone has painted Jim Boylan. I feel like we have this idea of exactly who he is. He is this high school basketball coach who believes he is God, who believes in these really weird discipline things. And
is he a Mormon? I know he was at Utah.
I don't know, but I feel like, is he the guy who, if he gets punched in the nose, he just whimpers away? I kind of feel like he might be, but I don't know. Maybe this guy has some kind of history. Maybe he's a Navy SEAL or something. I don't know. Maybe he honestly believes this Marine Corps type stuff he's pulling off. But I can't make up my mind. I will say,
I mean, I think there are a lot of coaches who would just whoop that ass.
I could see Dwayne.
But that has more to do with it just being, NBA coaches are giant gynecologic freaks.
I could see a showdown where there's a fight where Dwayne Casey looks at him and he's like, were you talking to me? What'd you say? Come here. Come a little closer. And then he's like, say it, whisper to my ear. And then he headbutts him in the nose. Dwayne Casey just headbutts Boylan and the blood explodes out of the guy's face. That's how I see that fight going. I'm all in. I would bet Dwayne Casey could beat up Jim Boylan, no problem.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of guys, because Boylan doesn't have he's not a former. What is he, an ABA guy? What was he?
Well, I don't know.
I know he played, so he's a big man. We know he's a big man. You know what's more interesting than the coaches who would beat him up? Who can Jim Boylan beat up? Jaeger.
So this guy has no military background.
Oh, are you looking at his Wikipedia? Please tell me things. Please tell me things.
I'm trying to get early childhood. There's not much on here.
I think I was confusing him with the old Jim Boylan college coach, so I don't know as much. I don't think I know anything about this man.
He graduated college. He went to Maine.
That's the wrong Jim Boylan, I think.
No, I'm looking at the right. I'm looking at the right one. He went to Maine, and then he began coaching. He was an assistant. He was an assistant head coach after his college
Jim
career.
Boylan, Luke Walton, who you got?
Luke Walton. Luke Walton's bigger. He's got that reach.
Walton is soft, though.
Oh, Walton beat this guy up. So Jim Boylan on Wednesday night said about the Bulls' practice on Wednesday, there was a healthy amount of fear. That's reported by Will Gottlieb. Will Gottlieb saying that Boylan is like, how'd practice go? He's like, there was a healthy amount of fear. They ended up getting trucked by the Timberwolves that evening as Derrick Rose received MVP chants from the Chicago crowd.
That's the greatest quote of the season. We've had some great quotes, but that's the greatest. Wow. Kyle Burns asks, I'm a Dubs fan. Sue me. Should I be more freaked out by Clay or Dre right now?
That's a great question. I think the moment to trade away Draymond Green for value has expired. I
mean, Draymond Green is bad right now.
I think Draymond Green is bad. I don't think Klay Thompson is bad.
He's shooting 33% from three.
He's shooting worse.
Some people would kill for. He is shooting less than 50% from the floor, which is not very Klay Thompson.
He is shooting worse from three than Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart has a higher 3-point percentage.
You know what's weird is Klay Thompson has 400 2-point field goal attempts this year.
Oh yeah,
and is shooting less than 50%.
He's the mid-range bandit. This guy is the mid-range monster of the NBA right now, just taking all the worst shots. His true shooting percentage, he's 220th in true shooting percentage, right ahead of Furkan Korkmaz.
That's amazing.
Down there with the
getting serious run, by the way. So much Christmas run. Yeah.
So Klay Thompson will come back around, I assume. I don't know what is up with his. I mean, it's a legit slump. We talked about it weeks ago, even including that 14 3-pointer game. His numbers weren't very good, and now over the last 5, he's only hit, I think, 4 3-pointers total in the last 5 games, averaging 11 points per game. Klay Thompson's not looking great, but he still looks right, moving around out there and guarding people.
He doesn't look like he can barely move.
Yeah,
which is what Draymond Green looks like right now.
Draymond looked like that little the demon from Fallen that was inside of Markelle Fultz's shoulder. I think it passed over to Draymond Green's shoulder. Are you
talking about the Denzel Washington, John Goodman, Rolling Stones song themed movie Fallen?
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. What else would I be talking about? Oh, John, this is a funny aside. So
I'm a demon.
This is a movie, a little movie aside. My wife last night is just saying sees some commercial for some scary movie.
She of the hater of movies.
Well, yeah. She who watched, I think, the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. She's
and that was it.
It's like, you know what? I'm done with movies. She saw a horror movie commercial and she's like, man, I hate horror movies. I hate them. Like the last one I saw. What was it called? Frequency?
Wow.
And I was like, Frequency, the PG-13 drama?
Dennis Quaid?
Starring Jim Caviezel and Dennis Quaid? That movie's not a horror movie. I was like, that might be a thriller, barely. I was like, that's a PG-13 mild thriller.
I have noticed as people age, some people build defense mechanisms into their life where they decide they do not like things that are enjoyable. I am very worried for you, Keith. I don't like this anymore. You do like it. You know you don't have time to do it. So you're going to say you don't like it. So you're going to lie to yourself and everyone around you. That's miserable, but hey, you got to make it work somehow, right?
One of the big things we've talked about a lot is how I can't handle in movies children being in peril now.
Oh, yeah,
the trope of children being in peril. It's like in every Marvel movie or whatever.
Gotcha.
A baby gets taken from a mother and Superman has to go save the baby. It makes me ill. And
there's a big like almost kill a baby thing going on.
Well, yeah, that's like every piece of art does it, or every movie. It's just it's like a lazy trope they always do. And I was like, man, like, does everyone else feel this way? And my wife had the perfect theory that she's like, no, you did not genetically or chemically change after you had children, or you did a little bit. She's like, everyone else felt this way when they were watching movies as kids.